Hey, yo, what's going on? Once again, bros, women, bronies, and pegasisters, the one, the only, of course, Mr. Nintendo Sunday Free 2011, aka Curses and Guide 2009. Of course, you guys know the rest intro to this channel before we begin. Definitely check out freenover.com. Of course, some nights on that. If any people want a fresh channel, banner, design, and no picture made for you specifically, I'll put their link in the description box below. All that good stuff, and definitely check out their YouTube channel page. And of course, on my website, best partnership we ever had. Google them if you want to give them a listen to. Without further ado, let's get into this thing right the hell now. So, Conker's big reunion. So, if any people don't know, unfortunately, I never did get to play this game back when it was for like I think the first Xbox, I think the first like GameCube or N64 at that time. Because unfortunately, I didn't mind myself personally. I never did get to own this game. I never did own N64, sadly, because I was more into hype with PS1 and PS2 at that time. I kind of, unfortunately, abandoned Nintendo. I still had their GameCubes and Game Boy Advances and all that at that time, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I just couldn't do it anymore, GameCube, sadly. Because plus it was kind of an ultimatum at that time my parents gave me. Either I get the PS1 or the N64, so, I mean, Nintendo was real good to me at that time. I was starting to kind of get tired of Nintendo stuff at that time, I'll be honest. You know, I'm still a Nintendo fanboy now, but back then I took like a 3-4 year thing off of Nintendo. Except for Game Boy Color and advanced games, I was still into that part. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to be a Sony fanboy now. So during those 4 years, I played a crap ton. And I mean a crap ton of PS1 and PS2 games. And not until I got GameCube back in 03, 04 at that time, that's when I got hooked back in Nintendo. I went back in the Nintendo bandwagon like everyone else was, and I got hooked again. I've been a Nintendo fan still ever since that day, after my NES and SNES days were done. Anyways, I got these articles to read to you guys. I'll put them in the link in the description box below. It's about this Conker's Big Reunion game. Now it's officially only for the Xbox One. Unfortunately, because you already know, if you've been on my channel for a while, you kind of know how I feel about Xbox One. I will admit, I used to own a real older Xbox, the first Xbox, not Xbox One, but the original, actual 2001, 2002 Microsoft Xbox. Before the 360 and the Xbox One, like nowadays, that was relevant. This was irrelevant now. But the only two games I ever owned in there was like Shadow the Hedgehog and I think Glover. I never owned any Halo games, but at the same time, it was decent. And I did remember owning a really, really crazy game. I think I owned Gears of War, and that was pretty much it. The old one, though. And yeah, let's get into this. So, Conker's Big Fury Reunion. This was from AverageBrosReviews.com. I'll put the link into this article in the description box below if any people want to read it without my voice. And I've already probably most likely put in the annotation right there or right here, or I put it around my face, up and down below, wherever I put it at. So I might have to do a two-parter in this. Forgive me, I've been having to do 3 of those today. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Let me get another drink of my water. There I go, spilling it like a freaking retard. Sorry, guys. So here we go. So it says, if you owned an N64 at any point in time, you should be ashamed of yourself. It ain't shame of yourself if Conker's Bad Fur Day doesn't ring a bell. The raunchy pop cultural reference stuffed action adventure game starring every adult's favorite squirrel, released by Rare, definitely made a name for itself. As Conker's BFD, it is on my list of top 5 Nintendo 64 titles. Okay, I don't even know what BFD means, but we're gonna roll with that. All right, we'll just roll with that. It's easy to say I went nuts with excitement when I saw the reveal trailer for Conker would be making his return as a part of Project Spark, the Xbox One title that gives everyone the ability to make their own game, to be their own game developer. Can I even say that? I think it's the Aphorial, I think that's what it was. The Aphorial mentioned excitement propelled itself out of the temper glass window of the 10th story of a building after spending $5 on a very short hour. Part 1 of Conker's Big Reunion provided. Big Union was chunky at best, hindered by painful frame rates, that drop from lower to lower, clunky controls. You'll love the platforming jumping section, and just enough nostalgia to keep me running throughout the entire experience. The story takes place after the events of Conker's Bad Fur Day. Conker wakes up hungover, which was awesome, and was informed by his scarecrow buddy Birdie that a reunion is being held by Cock and Plucker Bar, the same bar that BFD had. Oh, from Bird Bad Fur Day. That's what it means. BFD Bad Fur Day. Now I get it. However, upon trying to enter the bar, it is informed that he has to pay his dues of $300 bar tab. The entire story, a lack therefore of part one, revolves around you fighting off Tedsy and navigating through the different levels to obtain the money that you own. When I first started up the game, I was happy to see that you were still wielding a signature frying pan. Conker's form of double jumps is still used for as tall as a propeller, and the controls felt like a classic action-adventure game at heart. Sadly, the frame rate painfully drops immediately after any sort of action hits the screen and controls you just with the feet really blocking. While trying to land on platforms, that there were multiple times that I landed but still overshot them due to the inadequacy of the controls. I think that the problem is that many Project Sparks in general, and it definitely hurt the experience. Personally, I do not like the idea of Conker having his new home with the Project Spark world. I think it is a very creative idea, and the user content I messed up with playing the game was made very good. Project Spark World, I think that there was an idea of concept I had to play in Big Reunion was very enjoyable. The problem with Project Spark being the host of this game, however, is that I think most of the problems that were solely due to the limitations of Spark. Earlier, the best example of these flaws and the most frustrating experiences of this whole package was during a boss battle. You have to almost hit every single time I attempted to stop the propeller box to keep myself from getting hit. Conker would overshoot due to the screwy controls. I almost gave up on the game from the damn near 10 attempts it took me to finally defeat the boss segment. Although attempting to jump to certain platforms, it seems likely that there's some type of graphical glitch that makes it so you execute a double jump from a slight distance and hover the platform. Excuse me, I had to burp there. Rather than just being able to jump on it fluidly. One other thing, the first-person shooter, actually it should be third-person shooter, not first, segment it took its running from a Nintendo 64 because it played so poorly that there was a lot left to be desired by the Big Reunion, and I hope they make a lot more tweaks for the future installments. If there is any, because I don't know if they're ever going to bring this Conker thing again like they just did not too long ago, a couple months ago. Let's keep it moving. There are definitely some enjoyable aspects of Conker's Big Reunion, despite the impression that I absolutely despised it. Yeah, that's what it was, despised it. I wanted it so badly. My favorite part of the experience was to steal jar guns. While simply put, I was challenging enough to definitely have most fun I played at the game. Mods are very, very weird, like with the Metal Gear Solid references. Franchising were almost awesome as well. Big Reunion isn't really raunchy as Conker's Bad Fur Day was in any regard. But Conker's drunken antics and remarks are still plentiful, and that there are a few laughs throughout the gaming series through the stability of the gaming experience. The combat was also about as fluid as the game would allow it to be, and it was fun enough to keep me intrigued throughout the game. The best parts of Big Reunion had to be the environments and the voice acting. Chris Saver reprised his role as Conker and Birdie. Oh, he played Birdie too? I thought he just played Conker. Learn something new every day, right, ladies and gentlemen? Right. So, and this was one of the biggest legs of the game that has stand in terms of enjoyment. The biggest thing about Project Spark has going for it is that the art style of the game is very vibrant and pleasing to the eyes. The inclusion of Conquer-esque objects of the environment really made the game look exactly as I had hoped. The graphics aren't incredible, but the environments are still solid. Bro review. Alright, now this is them giving their real review. Conker's Big Reunion was probably one of the biggest, most disappointing games since Duke Nukem Forever, which was a great idea with a ton of potential with heavily damaged, gut-wrenching, painful frame rates, graphical glitches, and controls so choppy that you were able to be the Seawix chief. The empty story still provided a few laughs that feed solely on age, toilet humor, and pop culture references, as expected for our furry friend. Even a small asking $5 is about $4.99 a month or a year. I don't know how much that is. That's totally not my opinion there. It's too much to spend on Big Reunion. If you're dying to play it, I recommend that going all in, spending the extra $5, which I think is $10 altogether, to get the Conquer content you make on your own. Better Conquer successors when you're done missing the platform games are simply platformer jumps. And then it goes to finish off from there. So, overall thoughts, views, and opinions on this thing. You know, I myself, hold on. There we go. I myself personally, like I said before, and I'll say it again, in the beginning of this video, I did mention that I unfortunately wasn't one of the lucky people to get to play Conker's Bad Fury because, like I said, I ended up being a Sony PS1, PS2 fanboy after, you know, I was done with Nintendo, NES, and SNES. So I never really got too much experience with N64 unless I went to my cousin's house. I go on the weekends, you know, we had sleepovers, and she would actually own an N64. It was a really cool Legend of Zelda version too. She was a big Legend of Zelda fan back in the day, man. She just loved it. I mean, for the NES and SNES, I loved them, but N64, I could not get into Legend of Zelda for the life of me until the Wind Waker a couple years later, back in 02, 03. That's when I started getting big into it. Other than that, you know, I know I did hear rumors because a couple of my friends back in elementary school when it was still big, they said talking about, oh, dude, you should play this Conquer Bad Fury. You should totally play this. You still need to rent it on Hollywood Video or Blockbuster. And of course, at that time, that was still relevant because keep in mind, this was the 90s. So technology at that time still wasn't as big. And of course, the internet was very irrelevant at that time. Very few people even knew how to use it. And it wasn't as, you know, powerful as it is nowadays, and it's not as relevant as it is these days. Internet's extremely huge nowadays. With a lot of social media stuff, way to pay your bills, way to get jobs and stuff. It's literally the only thing people even care about anymore. That with the smartphones, and that's probably it. But other than that, what else can I say? You know, the thing was really huge at that time. Man, I always tell them, you know, yeah, I love this game, it looks cool, but unfortunately I can't play it. I was telling him, look, bro, I would love to play this, but I don't own an N64. I only own PS1 and PS2, and that's it. And of course, this was at the time when I was extremely huge in the games that are platformers. I still did love platformers, don't get me wrong. I was still very big into Crash Bandicoot. I was really big into Spyro the Dragon, Croc. I was really big into that. Medieval. What else? Gex the Gecko. And what else was a platform game? Rayman. I was really big in a lot of those PS1 and PS2 titles. And Ratchet and Clank was just barely coming out along with Jak 1, 2, and 3. You know, I was extremely immersed into those PlayStation platforms over Nintendo. The only two Nintendo things I was still big into, I was still big into Pokemon, and I was still extremely hugely into Mario. A little bit into Donkey Kong too. Everything else I wasn't really crazy big on Nintendo, like Mother, or AKA better known as what's it called? I forgot the English freaking name for it. Fuck. What was it? It wasn't, yeah, Earthbound. There we go. I was real big in. I was big into it. I didn't really get too much into it because I didn't get to play it too much, but I did play it a little bit. Legend of Zelda, I didn't get really too big into. Metroid, I barely just got into at that time. And then what else? Wario, I got really big into too. So those are the only type of Nintendo games I was into. I didn't really care too much for Star Fox very much, or Beautiful Joe when it was still big at that time before it unfortunately went down. Pikmin, I kind of got into, but I wasn't fanboying the hell out of it. It was a decently good game. And I still think it's a decent good game up to this day and age. Let's get back into Conquer though. The last two things I want to say about it before I end this video off and this article review in a way. I personally, myself, I think it's pretty okay. Pretty much safe to say that Conquer may or may not come back. We'll see. We'll see how that goes in the long run. It depends on what Microsoft decides to do with that franchise. If it decides to maybe sell it off, if it does sell it off to Nintendo or Sony, I would really love to play that thing. But other than that, I'm definitely not playing it for sure. But it is what it is. We'll see what happens. Of course, one of the CEO chiefs over there for Microsoft is Phil Spencer, which I really don't give a crap about because, but like I said before, I don't really give a crap what Microsoft or Xbox One does because most of their games to me are just crap. I don't like any of them, barely. Except maybe like one or two, and that's probably it. I remember he himself even said something about the Kinect sucking ass, literally. And he's one of the CEO people that own that franchise. And so to hear him say that, it pretty much proves a lot of the fanboys for like Nintendo and Sony like myself, unfortunately proves it right. Xbox One is a complete piece of crap. I'm sorry. Real sorry if I'm offending the Xbox One Microsoft fanboys out there, and fangirls, but it's just not my cup of tea. It just isn't. But other than that, yeah, the one last thing I really want to say about Conker's Bad Fur Day is I'm really glad that they got the original voice actors to play the part of the original game. Unfortunately, I never got to play the original one, but the only one thing I actually liked it for back in the day was that really sexy furry hentai chick. Back in the day. I don't jack off to them now. I used to fap like hell when I used to see furry hentai girls back in the day. Now it's been about 7 years, I think, the last time I did that. But back then, when I was really big into porn, and of course, unfortunately, I'm still a virgin, so, I still didn't know what real sex was until a couple years after that. I'm not going to get into that. It's extremely personal. I'm not going to talk about that. She kind of looked like a mix between Lola Bunny and then that other chick, Bianca from Spyro the Dragon a little bit, the bunny rabbit. It looks like if they both would have had a daughter, then Barry would have been like the result of that. If you don't know Barry is, she's that squirrel that looks like extremely anthropomorphic. If any people are furries, I don't got nothing against you. I was a former furry myself back in the day, so I kind of knew how that lifestyle was. I mean, I never went to convention or anything. I would have wished I'd love to go to a convention, but unfortunately, that's not happening for a while. Unless I go to something like BronyCon or the Anime Comic Con things or any type of other convention out there, I would love to go. But financially, I can't really do it right now. But hopefully next year or the year after, I'll probably try to do a YouTube video of it. We'll see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing I know this has nothing to do with the Conker's Bad Fur Day. I just want to give a very sweet special shout out. I know I kind of had my issues with her in the past. I think it was like September, October, maybe November last year when I did like a YouTube channel review of her. This was back in the old house too, if any people remember, before I moved over here. I want to give a sweet special shout out. She's in the Brony Pegasisters community as well, voice acting and the Film Picture one, not the analysis one. Anna Chloe, I know she talked to me a couple times. We were talking on, I don't know if it was Twitter or Facebook. No, it was here on YouTube on the Gmail thing. She was very, very sweet and kind to me. This is the first time in like 6-7 months she talked to me. Ever since, we kind of had our debut, our despising with each other. But you know what? I decided to make amends with her. Shout out to the sweet little British UK crumpet. That's her out there. All the way from the United Kingdom. Coming here from Vegas, in the United States. She's a really cool ass chick. Definitely subscribe to her if you're into My Little Pony stuff or if you're into any of that type of brony thing, like I am myself, because I am a brony, not gonna lie. And yeah, she does really, really cool stuff. I highly suggest you check her out if you're into stuff like Disney or old school Nickelodeon stuff. She does some of those things sometimes. And yeah, just check the chick out. I doubt if she's watching, but Anna, keep doing what you do. I know you said you were really busy with life and everything. But don't let that get you down. And hopefully, things get better for you. And stay beautiful like you always are, because you're awesome. Anyways, that's all I got to say, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put the links either in the annotation that you just saw probably earlier or in the description box below. And that's pretty much it. Peace out once again. Bros, women, bronies, and pegasisters. We'll see you when I see you. You guys have a good day. Have a good night. Wherever around the world. Don't drink, smoke, weed at the same time. Don't think the reckless. Keep it calm. Keep it cool. Keep it chill. Keep it like out there. And until then, that's it, guys. Peace out, ladies. Goodbye. Stay tuned. More videos coming soon. Brand new videos on this channel almost every single day. Stay healthy. Stay all the good stuff. Stay on the grind. Be safe, everyone. Be easy. Be you. Do you yourself out there. And until then, that's it, guys. I'm out like sauerkraut. Take it easy. Stay safe. Look safe. Look out for more future content on this channel. And I'll talk to y'all guys next time. Hopefully, you like the view there. Hopefully, I'm hoping to get a couple more posters on there. So just bear with me on there. Talk to you soon and goodbye.